No mai hara mai kia tau mai ki tēnei pāhotanga mataora ko Auaha Live. Ngā mihi mahana kia koutou katoa. Ko Sandra Julian tōku ingoa, ko Ngāti Mutunga, Ngāti Tama, Pautama, me Tia Tiawa, Oku Uwi no Taranaki. Welcome to episode 17 of Auaha Live. I appreciate that you are joining us today. I'm your host, Sandra Julian. I'm the founder of Auaha, a business event agency and BIA approved professional conference organizer. That's always such a mouthful. I appreciate you being here today with us. If you want to drop a comment, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Even if you're watching the replay, drop us a comment and we will always come back and answer your questions or, have some dialogue with you. These sessions, so Auaha Live, is designed to provide you with some insights into what goes on behind the scenes in organising, planning and delivering a business event. So I've interviewed a number of talented people and we're continuing along that theme. So I do hope that you get some nuggets of information from our session today that will help you in your journey in planning a business event, whether that's in person or hybrid or virtual. I'm sure that these sessions will provide a wealth of information for you as the event organizer. Alrighty, my guest today is Nicole Carvell, who is the Business Event Tourism Advisor at Enterprise Dunedin. Gosh, if I could get my words out today. She is also the chair of Convention Bureaux New Zealand. Nicole, welcome to Auaha Live.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you so much for having me on. This is very exciting.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to have conversations with me. So I know I just gave a brief intro, but I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself, what you do at Enterprise Dunedin, and how long you've been the chair of Convention Bureaux NZ.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Good question. Actually, I think I'm only a few months, September last year, but God knows where this year has gone. I took over from Amanda Graham, fantastic chair, and she left in September. So I just sort of handed over then, trying to navigate through this interesting post-COVID world from a Convention Bureau perspective. My background is I've had about 10 years experience within the events and tourism and hospitality sector. And I've sort of dabbled in all sorts of things. I was a travel agent. I worked in a hotel, fundraising and events for the Cancer Society, and as well as venue management with Dunedin Venues. So I was there for about 4 years looking after the events at the Dunedin Centre and Forsyth Bar Stadium. So when I came into the Convention Bureau, it was great to have all of those sort of aspects to my skill set, because I sort of now can see all different angles and understand where my clients are coming from.
Yeah, that's super handy to have that kind of a background. So that's where we must have actually met, is when you were at Venues Dunedin. So,
yeah, probably at meetings and our fast face-to-face 15-minute sessions.
Yeah. Because I did come down to Dunedin when Bree was in that role at Enterprise Dunedin. I came down a couple of times. So, yeah.
Would have been one of our familiars, and we.
Totally could have been.
That's where it was back then.
Yeah. So, what did you get into the events industry out of like air travel tourism, and then make the move over into like business events?
Well, it happened all quite organically. I suppose I was in a law-based admin role and thought, well, this isn't me. I want to get into sales, travel. It's exciting. That's when I found myself as a travel agent for corporate travel, actually. And then from there, I just sort of went into different roles, utilising the skill set I had and built up in that position, but then moved on to slightly different aspects, still in that customer service. And oh gosh, it's really scratching my brain now. It feels like so long ago. But within the 10 years, it is the most recent in my brain. My first dabble with the business events industry was when I was at Crown Plaza in Queenstown. So both from the marketing side, but then actually on the ground delivering the events, because it was an all hands on deck approach at IHG. And that was when I thought, yeah, this is an interesting industry. This is a nice niche. We had a lot of incentive groups through, so they were always amazingly themed, and the food was fantastic, and it's just so exciting. And then when we moved back to Dunedin from Queenstown, I just thought I have to stay in this industry. And then luckily the job came up with Dunedin Venues, and that was when the business events industry in Dunedin was really going through a bit of a renaissance in a way, because our fabulous Dunedin Centre had a $40 million refurb, and I was part of the team that got to sell off plans to our PCOs and deliver some of the first conferences with the reopening. So that was a learning experience for sure, opening the venue and just figuring out how it all works, and then delivering some amazing events as well.
And it is a lovely venue. Like, I've been there a couple of times, and it is really nice. And we just held an event there last week. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So it was great.
You had good weather, I hope, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't come down. One of my team came down and delivered the event. They were down there for 2 days, but yeah, great venue. So now you've put your hand up to be the chair of Convention Bureaux New Zealand. That's like no small job.
No.
What led you there?
I guess it's just such a fabulous group of people to work with, and really getting into discussions on where we sort of want to take the group further. And I just really put my hand up as just a bit of a challenge, but also it's just a great group of people to work with, I guess, and get that experience. But a lot of our esteemed colleagues have since left, so it's really sad to see them go when you've got that great relationship. And so we've got some new members, which is really great, just getting to know everybody now. And we've had our first meeting with everyone. Oh gosh, that was a couple of weeks ago now in Wellington, which was great to see everybody. Okay. Yeah, and we're doing some great work with upskilling and education, raising our profile of Convention Bureaus, because it's still quite misunderstood across not just within the industry, but I mean in the corporate space, and a lot of people don't know what a Convention Bureau is. So we really want to amplify our message and get the message, that we're here to help.
Yeah. So let's go down that track a little bit. So for anyone who's watching, who's like, okay, so what is a Convention Bureau? Why don't you kind of expand on what is a Convention Bureau and what you do and the services that you offer?
So essentially, we're here to make the event organiser's life a lot easier. A Convention Bureau usually sits within a regional tourism organisation or local council, and we offer free and impartial advice to anyone that's looking to bring a conference or a business event to all destinations across New Zealand. Recently got a new term. We act as the glue that connect our clients to the best products and services within our regions that suit their requirements.
That's good. And so then how many Convention Bureaus are across the country?
About 16, I think I last counted. Some aren't officially bureaus, but they're heading towards that path.
Right. So what makes them officially or not officially a bureau?
Great question. I would assume that's just if they've got the right product in their region and they're really promoting it to the business events industry.
Right. And so there's not like an official Convention Bureau. It is if they're supported by their regional tourism organisation and they have product in the region that fits business events, then great.
And I suppose when they go to market, whether or not they're under the business, so we're doing business events, or there's the Convention Bureau, whether or not they're utilising that terminology when they're in market, I suppose would establish them as officially a bureau. But there are other RTOs working out there that it just really comes down to resource, I suppose.
Yeah. And so then Convention Bureaus aren't necessarily called Convention Bureaus, right? Like Enterprise Dunedin, it it's not overtly in the name anymore. Do you think that has an impact on how people know that you're a Convention Bureau or not?
Yeah, and we've talked about this, and there's a lot of terminology out there in the market at the moment. So Convention Bureau versus business events. Enterprise Dunedin is the economic development agency for the council here. So I sit within the economic development agency, and I run under the Dunedin Business Events brand because I want to adopt that new terminology that is out there now, and I'm hoping that will just encourage or make it easier for us to find and for people to relate who we are and what we can offer.
Yeah.
And whether or not other bureaus are taking on that terminology, it is their choice. So just really depends on the product offering and them as a team and what they're delivering.
Right. And are the services that a Convention Bureau offers, are they standardised across the country or do they vary between regions?
I would say they vary only purely down to resource and budgets, but we do offer primarily the same service. So whether that be advice or the regional expertise is really where we're all the same. We offer marketing and promotional support for our regions. Also, we can offer FMILs and site visits. So we all operate in similar ways. We all exhibit together or at shows, as individual regions to meet with our clientele. We all primarily do a similar role there. And the FMILs is a really good one because that's where a lot of people don't understand. Actually, you can get hosted within a region and it's at no cost to yourself, and we will cover those costs.
Nice. And what would qualify someone to be hosted by a region? Do they have to be considering that region for their event? And does it need to be the only region they're considering? Or maybe they've got 3 locations that they're considering for their next event? What would qualify someone to be hosted for a site visit or a FMIL?
Yeah, no, you've exactly what you've said. It's just whether or not they are showing interest in that region. They may have already received a quote from the Bureau to say this is what we can offer. So it's whether or not the event is really ideal for the region. So we would work with the client to find out what they need, and then suggest. Sometimes it's just that extra push they need across the line to understand a region better. They may not have visited the region even in a personal capacity, just visiting. Or visiting friends and family. They may not have their business events hat on, so to get them in the region to see firsthand the product and the offering is often just that extra, oh great, now I can see how my event will work here. So it's absolutely, they're usually already considering it. They could be 80 to 85%, but yeah, it's really, I suppose, once they're on the ground they can understand how their event will work better.
Yeah.
And then they could be comparing regions at the same time. So it might just be, and then they consider it maybe not for the year that they're looking for, but the following year.
Good point. Yeah. And so someone comes to Enterprise Dunedin or any Convention Bureau. How does that service help them? Do you point them in the direction of all the potential providers that could help them with the event once you understand what the event is? Or do you go out to the providers on behalf of the person that's made the inquiry that with the Convention Bureau? How much legwork do you do for that potential piece of business?
Just personally, I sometimes the quote will come first. So understanding, I work with the client one-on-one to find out exactly what it is that they need and the sort of format to the event, all the requirements like the social functions, especially the setups to each space and how they want to deliver it. We pull all of the suppliers in that are specific to their requirements or that can work with them. Sometimes we throw them some real creative options because we have to think creatively when it comes to fitting our region for an event. And then we bring them in for the FMIL and go through essentially what we've quoted in person, or vice versa. Sometimes they've never seen Dunedin or the region specifically, so they don't understand it until they're here. Then we can go and gather all the quote. I like to do as much as I can to make it as easy as possible for our clients, because they're busy as it is. Yeah, and we should be trusted with that because we know exactly our regions the best, and we can do that as that free service to save them time, because it's time is money, right?
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
Awesome. So if you're watching today or you're watching the replay, then just know that a Convention Bureau will do all the legwork, go and find the bus company, the main venue, the social function venue, the AV company, and make recommendations. So, I mean, it's such a great service, Nicole, because that can take hours of work sometimes when you're trying to find who you should contact, and then when you find who you should contact, actually reaching out to them and then having that conversation. So like we find convention bureaus really valuable, especially when we haven't been to a region before. Yeah,
absolutely, we're happy to do it.
Perfect. All right, so what is, I don't want to go back and revisit last year, but I really want to talk about what is the COVID recovery that we're moving into now. What is that looking like for convention bureaus? Because I know convention bureaus really active pre-COVID, and then COVID happens. But what is that looking like for convention bureaus now and moving forward into 2021?
There's a few different points or observations as well. I've seen a real shift into regional collaboration, which is a really positive outcome. I think those larger regions are partnering with their neighbours to pull together some amazing product offering, and which is awesome. Sort of removing those barriers between regions and opening up to offer the client something quite new. And incentives are a really hot topic as well, and regions that may not have necessarily been thinking about incentives are now sort of playing in that space, and that's what we're doing as a group, is we're actually upskilling within about incentive. So that will be really exciting, so watch this space. I know there'll be some real hard work and that going on in the background for us and regions, and again potentially some collaboration there on incentive, which is a space, especially Dunedin, we have only really dabbled in. We're really not strong there, but that's an upskill and some education happening with the bureaus, which is great. And I think the funding as well that has been made available through central government, it's given a lot of bureaus a bit of extra resource. Really is just stumbling over my words, to refocus a little bit maybe on our individual brands and propositions. And then again, that kind of complements the regional collaborations as well, understanding each other's strengths, especially when it comes to industry. So it then helps us really rein in what the pieces of business we are chasing. So not only are we in that reactive space where clients are coming to us, we want to be out there hunting that business, so making sure what we are looking for suits our region because of what we're offering, or the expertise that we have on the ground. For example, Dunedin health, education and tech is a big one for us. So the better we as bureaus know what each region is strong in, then we're, I suppose, in that camaraderie we have, we're helping each other out. Just being a little bit more agile. Our lead-in times are a lot shorter. I can speak for myself and a few other regions. We're quoting for 6-month lead-ins, which is quite a shift from the traditional 12 to 24 months lead-in that we had pre-COVID. So just, I suppose speed and making sure that we're getting the clients what they need as soon as we can. And really assessing how we're delivering those events within the regions, and where our role is, understanding the flexibility that our partners are facing with social distancing rules and hygiene, things like that. So we've sort of got to be a bit on the ball there. So where we understand our venues from their perspectives in detail. So if we are facing alert level shifts or anything like that, that we're over and all that's covered, which they're doing a fantastic job. But we just, I suppose, we need to understand the different capacities, for example, are a big one and a big learning curve for me. It's just thinking a little bit differently. This is how much we have at full capacity, but if we're in a hybrid model, and then also if we go full virtual, which is just something of this new age we're living in.
Yeah. And those are all thoughts like at the top of mind with every event. I know for every event that we're doing, every event is having a conversation around, okay, what if? And those what ifs are now, what if COVID, what if lockdown, what if a rise in alert levels, what if, how will we? And those are, and they're all conversations around how will we continue, which is an interesting conversation. So not many clients that I'm talking with are going, we'll just postpone. The conversation is always, how will we? So
absolutely. Yeah. And we've got to be able to cover that as well, just in case.
And are you noticing a change in business? Apart from lead times, are you noticing that associations aren't coming back to market as quickly and maybe corporates are, or is that vice versa? Are you noticing any kind of trends like that from a Convention Bureau?
Just speaking for myself, my leads are looking really quite strong. The quotes that are coming in, but I couldn't tell you one over the other. It's actually a bit 50-50. The ones that I've done a lot of work with our clients that sadly had to postpone. So we've had some great results where all of our events didn't cancel and they were postponed into this year, which has been fantastic. It's just making sure they had everything they needed to get it going, and then they're all starting to happen. As you say, you were here last week, so great to have them back in the city. But it's I suppose I think for me it is a nice mix, which is positive, and slightly different industries where are up and coming for Dunedin, which is really exciting, and a lot of returning clients as well. So conferences we've had, say maybe just on rotation, are coming back, which is really, really good, and they're wanting to support the regions, so that's really exciting. I'm really happy with how my leads are looking. So 60% of our business is domestic, and it seems to just be ticking over, which is really good. And even the discussions for international bids are back in full steam. So again, just speaking from Dunedin, I've been looking at about 3 to 5 international events from 2023 onwards. And they're coming hard and fast. So New Zealand is really on people's radar. Once they can get here.
And I really do think the country's approach to how we managed COVID put us on a global stage. It really made us stand out on a global stage. I know the conversations that I'm having with people in different countries, they all now know the approach that New Zealand took to COVID. I don't think I've talked to one person who's didn't know that, we are way ahead of anybody else. We're no longer in lockdown for long periods of time where other countries are, and now it's only that they're seeing different things happen because of vaccinations. So I do think that COVID, as much as it was terrible, it actually, we made our mark on the world stage. So and one aspect, I'm really not surprised that those international bids are coming hard and fast, because people are thinking, 2-3 years down the line. So That's my next question I was going to ask you is, how has the opening of the Tasman bubble affected your work, and what have you seen as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously great news for our industry, and it's a real credit to the government to get us to this point where the bubble is open. And I really see that's building a lot of confidence back in the industry, and it's going to create some great opportunities for the regions. They are looking for Australian buyers, that they are looking for that what's new product because they're limited to where they can go. And this was apparent to me even just looking at the meetings diary preferences. I saw an increase in Australian buyers' interest in Dunedin, which is fantastic. So that's really exciting. So looking forward to seeing them in Auckland next month.
Yeah, nice.
Very exciting.
So Australian buyers can come into Queenstown and then get a connecting flight to Dunedin. Is that usually how they come in, or do they still come in?
No, not through Queenstown, unfortunately. But through Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch.
Christchurch, right.
Mostly Auckland or Christchurch. And it's only a 3 and a bit hour drive to Queenstown. So a lot of the story I sell is flying into Dunedin. They stay on, often drive through to Central Otago, especially during ski season, and spend a few days on the slopes and fly directly out of Queenstown. So selling a little bit more of that pre and post product as well, which is great for us. We've got so much to offer down this end of the country and so close together. You can be at a beach and then 3 hours later you're on the slopes. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's exciting for our event industry. Actually the interest is returning, and having meetings go ahead with Australian buyers, that again is good for our industry. So only good things ahead by the sounds, huh?
And I think having that conversation firsthand is going to be really enlightening to what they're looking for. And getting in detail. I'm really excited about incentives. Quite a few incentive houses are on my preference list. I want to know what they want so I can work with our partners and really get into that product. I don't want to say product development, but looking at that, what are we offering that is at that level, if not where we can do better. So just looking for those opportunities, which is really exciting, and Australians know how to do it. So really excited to learn more.
So do you see that what comes to New Zealand from Australia, is that mostly incentives?
No, I wouldn't say mostly, but they do bring in large size events. Those their medical sector are quite large. We don't get much down here, but really looking forward to the new infrastructure coming online in Christchurch. Obviously the fabulous Te Pai, that's going to be wonderful for the Australians. I think that's going to that will do really well. And I suppose for us it is just narrowing in on the sectors that are going to suit Dunedin, and there's some really nice synergies in that tech startup space which we're working on, and finding the more boutique conferences that will come out of Australia to suit our region, and probably other smaller regions. So really having those discussions is going to be really exciting in June, finding what's out there and who's looking and what they're looking for.
And what they're looking for, totally.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, Nicole, before we wrap up our little conversation today, I always like to ask my guests one final question, which is, what has been your aha moment that you've had in your career to date?
Oh, it's such a good question. And I think if you asked me this time last year, the answer would have been quite different. And I think for me, without sounding too cliche, I think for me was when I realised the importance of the human side of events, even before COVID. I was seeing a real shift from the getting the business done to organisations putting their delegates' health and wellbeing first. So whether that be something as simple as just how they're designing the program or how they set up the room, offering healthier catering options, and I think that was there was a real, obviously pre-lockdown, but post-lockdown, and even while we're on this COVID journey, remembering the well-being and giving ourselves a bit of a break every now and then. The human element is what events are all about, right?
Yeah, totally.
Connection. And that's why I love what I do. I get to work with clients every day and connect with people from all types of industry, and helping them find their solutions. So, and some of my clients have become some great friends, and it's really evident in the industry we work in. So I feel really lucky.
Yeah. I mean, our industry we've got some amazing people who, just they go above and beyond for people. It's a real people orientated industry. You never really hear like the suppliers. We all work ridiculous hours sometimes, and pack-ins and pack-outs are silly hours, but we do it because it makes an impact for other people. So we are definitely a people-orientated industry for sure.
But it was an amazing lesson to learn that. So a long time, obviously.
But when you make that shift, around this is what I do for a job, and this is how it functions, to this is the impact I'm making. It changes your thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great word. Impact.
Awesome. All right, Nicole, thanks so much for joining me today. That's been a wealth of information. Hopefully we have educated some people on what a Convention Bureau does, and how a Convention Bureau can help event planners, and even if it's corporate or association or private functions. However, if you are looking to move your event into a destination within New Zealand, reach out to the Convention Bureaus. They are a wealth of information and will always point you in the right direction. So absolute pleasure having you here today, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, friends. That brings us to the end of another episode of Auaha Live. I hope you took lots of notes and took nuggets of information away. We'll look up your regional Convention Bureau. There is actually a Convention Bureau NZ website if you want to just type that into your Google search, and then you'll be able to find the regional Convention Bureau for the region that you are looking to host your event in. Reach out to the professionals there, and they will help you identify the product that will help you deliver your best event ever. So go there, do that, take advantage of all of the wealth of knowledge that our Convention Bureaus have, and they come up with little gems of venues that you would never even know about. So if you would like to join me again for the next session of Auaha Live, which we'll do in 2 weeks' time, you can, if you're watching on Facebook, you can like our Facebook page, and we will send you a message to let you know the date and time of the next session and who our guest is. If you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe to our channel. Even on LinkedIn, like our LinkedIn page. Otherwise, you can head over to auaha.co.nz, subscribe to our email list, and we will email you with those details every couple of weeks. But thank you so much for joining us here today. Thanks to my guest, Nicole, for being here. And I look forward to seeing you back here in 2 weeks. Until then, mā te wā.